All right, are you on?
Okay, here in the KeepCull Polypay U class. The KeepCull classes are common in FFA judging contests. Maybe a few 4-H contests still have KeepCull classes, but it's a little different than a rank 4. Basically, you're evaluating these ewes as which 4 you would keep for breeding purposes and which 4 you would cull and send to market. Again, we've got performance data on this class. The Polypay breed is known as is more of a maternal breed. We're looking at their potential to raise lots of lambs and make them grow fast and take care of all of them. This breed is known to be exceptionally maternal, be able to lay down and have multiple lambs at a time and raise at least 2 and some of them even 3 lambs. So very popular in the Midwest where we have a little bit more resources for feed and labor and can take care of those extra lambs. So that's the way this class is designed. If we run through the data again real quick just before we get to the scenario, again we've got their ID number and their birth date, their current body weight, just kind of give you some growth idea how different they are in terms of growth and how big they are. We'll talk about the USA Maternal Index here in a minute. We've got a weaning weight EBV. We've got a post-weaning weight EBV. We got a percent lambs born, percent lambs weaned. So the weaning weight is an indication of how fast their lambs are going to grow from birth to weaning and how heavy they are going to be at weaning weight. That's again a relative factor there that gives a little bit of internal traits, but more the potential growth for those lambs for weaning. Post-weaning is 20 days, so that 60-day stretch will be post-weaning. The percent lamb is based on the 100 head of lambs. We've got a 9.3, for instance, in number 1. So her 100 daughters, or if it was a ram, 100 daughters out of that ram would produce 9.3% more lambs than a ram that was a 0. It's an indication of their potential for ovulating and conceiving and producing a lot of lambs. Numbers where percent weaned is how well they're taking care of all those lambs, getting them up, nursing them, and carrying them all the way, or raising them all the way to weaning. We've got a maternal weaning weight that is somewhat an indication of their milking ability. Combines the amount of milk that goes into that weaning weight and kind of indicates how quickly they grow to weaning, but gives the ewe a little bit more credit than just its genetics for growth. Post-weaning fecal egg count, or FEC, that's a number that tells us how parasite resistant they are or how tolerant they are to internal parasites or stomach worms. We want a negative number in that case, so the post-weaning FEC, the more it is on the negative side, the better. And then I give you a birth type, rear type, which in this situation where you've got a number born is really not very important. But you can see that there's a couple that were raised as quite a bit different than when they were born. For instance, the number 6 ewe was born a triplet but only raised a single. That's not really a good thing in the Polypay breed, not something that's very desirable. If we read the scenario on this class, these Polypay ewes are part of a flock. Can't read my own typing. A part of a flock that sells numerous rams and substantial number of ewes every year into commercial and purebred Polypay flocks throughout the Midwest. The flock needs to increase growth slightly, so we need to make our ewes just a tick bigger while maintaining functional sheep, so good structured sheep that are sound on their feet and legs, with a high level of maternal performance that has made the Polypay breed popular. So again, we want maternal data such as weaning weight, number born, number weaned, and that maternal weaning weight, along with a little bit of raw growth. But it's also important, there is also a good deal of desire to increase parasite resistance in the Polypay breed, and that's one thing we're trying to do here as well. So we do want to select or put a little bit of emphasis, or maybe give a close parent advantage on their post-weaning FEC number. So if we go through and answer the questions real quick, which would be the easiest way to kind of help you guide you into what we're thinking on this class. Which ewe is the poorest structured, especially in her shoulder set and her top line? Let's see if I can get this ewe out. There's one ewe that when she walks, you can see the shoulder blades moving on her really high. You can see her break behind her shoulders quite a bit. She's really weak in her top line. She's just not very good, and that's the little 2 ewe, the 320 ewe on her side, the 2 ewe in this scenario. There she is there against the back wall. She's really rough in her shoulder blades. She's able to get her head up nice and high, which indicates her shoulder joints are right. but she's so open at the top of her shoulder blades and so rough behind her top. And with my experience, those sheep get very arthritic as they get old and get hard getting up and down as they get heavier. So to me, she's got some structural limitations that we really need to be concerned with. Witch ewe is the narrowest and flattest rib in the class. The witch ewe is kind of small, shallow, doesn't have a lot of rib shape to her, and there's actually two of them in this group that to me I would give you credit for, and that's the two little ewes in class, the 6 and the 7 ewes. If you analyze them through their chest floor, through their rib cage, they're down their top line, they just don't have the thickness, they don't have the dimension, they don't have the depth and spring of rib to them that we'd like them to have. So 6 and 7 to me are the two probably that have the most are the most compromised in terms of their physical maternal look. Witch ewe is the boldest sprung and highest volume ewe in class. I think this is on the other side, which is a big, ropey, high volume, deep body, really wide peg that's really wide to the center portion of her body. Has a lot of spring of rib to her. I think there's two of them in here, but one of them's a little bit more pronounced, and that's the 4 ewe. But I also think 3 and 5 are close to her, but 4 just has a tremendous amount of center body width to her, and I really like that about her. Witch ewe offers the most in terms of parasite resistance. So witch ewe is the highest, or the lowest, has the highest negative, most negative post-weaning FEC, and that's actually the little ewe in the class, the number 6 ewe. She does have that advantage in this class, but there's some others that are pretty close to her, and they're still offering some parasite resistance to this scenario, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Which ewe should wean the most pounds of lambs over her lifetime? The easiest way to look at that would be actually the USA Maternal Index is going to be a good indication of it, but it's also kind of the combination of a high weaning weight EBV, a high number born EBV, and a high number weaned EBV. And if you look across here, the one that does that the best is the number 5 ewe. So she's going to be the answer to question number 5. Question number 6, which ewe has the least desirable spread from lambs born to lambs weaned? When we're talking about that is we want a high or a pretty high or a sound or good productive number born. I usually like to shoot for something in the teens or low 20s, but at the same time we like that number weaned to be at least higher than that or maybe even twice that. And in this case, the one that has the best spread is the number 2, or the least desirable is the number 2 ewe. She goes from a negative number born, which to begin with is not very good, and she's just in about 10% on number weaned. What would be even worse is if we had one with a low or an average number born of 20 and a number weaned in the teens or even below that. We don't want it to go that way. We'd rather the number born be at least equal or slightly above number born, if that makes sense. Which ewe offers the least potential for milk production? Which ewe is the lowest in her maternal weaning weight number? And that's the number 7 ewe. She's just barely over 1. Our flock, we're trying to get that number to push up towards 2. There's some flocks that are well over 2, but we're trying to keep it at or around or near 2, maybe even up to about a 2.2, 2.3, something like that. I'm afraid if we get much higher than that, we're going too high and pushing that milk too far, so I want to be careful with that. But the 1 ewe the 7 ewe is way too low for what we're trying to do. Which ewe is likely to produce the least lambs? That's pretty easily the number 2. She's negative for her number born, so odds are there's quite a few singles in her history, even though she was born a triplet. Her lifetime production and the ancestors that she carries in her pedigree just don't have the potential to have as many lambs as what we'd like them to have. So that's another negative for that number 2 ewe. And the next question, which ewes appear to be full siblings? If you look, there's a couple that are born on the same day. Their USA Maternal Index is very close, but what's even more importantly is the traits that are developed through their dams, which are number born and number weaned, and their maternal weaning weights are identical. They're also listed as triplets, raised as triplets, and their post-weaning FEC number is also the same. So that would be numbers 4 and number 5 are full siblings. How many of those were raised on milk replacer? If you look at birth type, rear type, they were all reared similar to the way they were born, except for the 1 ewe, but she was raised as a triplet as a single, so none of these ewes are raised on milk replacer. So a little bit of a quick trick question for you there. So we get in and analyze this set, and as I said, I already kind of picked on 3 ewes that I felt like you should have been pretty easily to cull out very quickly. The structural problems of the 2 ewe pretty much sort her to the bottom. The fact that she's negative on number born is another strike against her within this breed. I think you should be able to find her to the bottom pretty quickly. And then on the other side, we've got the two lower performing ewes, two ewes that are a little bit lower in the maternal index, in 6 and 7. Those probably should be the next two ewes that you're going to cull right away. So that I think is pretty easy to do. Then if you look at the other end, we talked about how good the two ewes are, the two twin triplet sisters are on 4 and 5, and I really felt like they were pretty easy keepers. They're big, they're sound ewes, they're dark on the big heads. They've got a tremendous amount of visual maternal look to them, and you look at them on paper, they're very good on their weaning weight EBV. They're sound in their number born, number wean EBVs. They're both good in their maternal weaning weight EBV, and they both offer some negative in terms of parasite resistance as well, and some good traits in terms of parasite resistance as well. So I really think you need to keep ewes 4 and 5 pretty quickly. So that leaves you with 3, but you've got to cull 1 and keep the other 2 in 3, 8, and 1. And I think if you look at the data on them, the 3 ewe is probably the one that next most matches the 2 that you kept in 4 and 5. She's close on her USA maternal. She's a little lower on weaning weight. She's good on her post weaning weight. Again, she's in the right direction between number born and number weaned. She could be a little bit higher in her maternal weaning weight, and again, she's negative on post weaning FEC. So I think she's one that needs to probably go into that third hole as a third keeper. So now you're down to ewe number 1 and ewe number 8. Neither one of the ewes are very good or really going to offer you much benefit in parasite resistance, but they're not going to give you a tremendous amount of issues there either. Maternal weaning weight, 1's a little higher than 8. Number born, number weaned, that's probably where the advantage is in the number 8 ewe, having more lambs than are born, and she's still above that in number weaned as well, so I think she's going to do that for you. I like her weaning weight EBV at a 2.5, but I think visually I like her just a little bit better. I still think she matches up a little bit better with the 3 ewes with cap than what the 1 ewe does. She's a little longer fronted, a little longer bodied. Maybe she could be a little bit wider, and that's where the 1 ewe maybe has a little bit of advantage in width and body depth. But again, I think that's a close pair. We opted to keep 8 over 1, but it didn't cost you a whole lot. So in this class, the way you figure your placing on this, if you keep 5, you get 17 points. If you keep 4, you get 17 points. If you keep 3, you get 9 points. And if you keep 8, you get 7 points. So that's your 50-point score right there. If you keep 1, you get 6 points instead of whatever you didn't keep. If you keep 7, you get 2, you get 6, or you get 2 points for 6, and you only get 1 point for keeping 2. So again, 5, 4, 3, and 8 are our keepers. 1, 7, 6, and 2 are our culls. 17, 17, 9, 7, 6, 2, 2, and 1 are the point totals in that order. Again, KeepCull class, a nice class. Maternal ewes with a little bit of different data. Hopefully that exposes you to something a little bit new within the sheep industry.